if you're taking the MCAT again in March and you're starting today, don't use all of your AMC resources today.
Ollie back for some more MCAT podcast, MCAT 101 series, all about full lengths today. It's something that I wanted to bring up last week when we were talking about study plans and when to work in full lengths, but full lengths deserve their own MCAT 101
that's
session.
A long discussion on full length.
There's so much to discuss. So first, I want to ask you, why are full lengths so important when it comes to MCAT prep?
That's a great question. You want to simulate test day conditions. It's not an hour test. It's a 7.5 hour test. It has a lot of content and sections and topics that could be tested. So the best way to do well on this test is to actually prepare for it. Take it multiple times. I'm going to say at least 7-8 practice tests before you take your MCAT, just to get to know the format, build the stamina you need to finish a 7.5 hour test, build your focus to be able to finish 9 course passages in a row in 90 minutes. So all of these skills cannot be built by just studying for the test. You want to go through it multiple times before you can master it.
One of the first things that lots of test prep companies out there say is take our diagnostic.
Yeah.
A lot of students think that the diagnostics are atrociously hard to scare students to sell MCAT prep. What are your thoughts on telling students take a diagnostic to really just help you understand what you're getting yourself into when it comes to MCAT prep?
Okay, so that's a great point. The diagnostic will always feel harder when you start prep, just because you are starting your prep. So if you have the time and if you want to test the hypothesis, one thing you could do is just take the diagnostic, repeat the diagnostic test 3 months into your prep. Maybe it's not going to look that hard. It's not going to be as difficult. It's just your first introduction to the MCAT.
Yeah.
Now, if it scares you into studying, this might be a good byproduct of it, but this is not what it is designed to do. It's designed to introduce you to the MCAT in a way that you see the passages, passage style questions. The way AMC test questions is not as direct as you've seen them in undergrad. So even easy concepts can be a bit more difficult on the MCAT just because of the way AMC writes questions and how they test them on the MCAT.
Yeah, I always like to think about how you mentioned that of a diagnostic again helps you understand this introduction to the MCAT, how the AAMC is potentially going to frame questions, how they're going to present answers, and if you have always studied 2 + 2 equals blank, and you're like, okay, I know that's 4. 3 + 3 equals blank. Okay, I know that's 6. And that's the only way you've studied math. And then all of a sudden you get to your test and it says 3 + blank equals 6. And you're like, I never studied that way. I don't know what that is, right? The presentation of material in different ways, having that understanding before you start your content prep allows you to think about the content differently and go, wow, I remember seeing this type of information on the diagnostic, but they presented it in this weird way. Let me, as I'm reading this, think about the various ways that I can get to the same information.
Exactly. The MCAT is going to challenge the way you think about the content you've seen in undergrad just because of the way it's applied. And to add a bigger layer of difficulty to that is not only each content is tested slightly differently than you've seen, but the contents are mixed up on the MCAT. It's not like there is physics passages, chemistry passages, biochemistry passages, and that's it. You will not see a physics passage discussing physics. You are going to be applying physics to a biological system. And passages will not have 6 questions about the same topic. It's going to be mix of topics. So you want to learn to look at the material differently, and you want to also learn to incorporate material together in order to answer a single question, which the only way to do this is through a practice, whether it's a QBank practice that's untimed or a practice. And I think this is why diagnostics are difficult, just because it's your first time seeing these types of questions.
Yeah. So should a student take a diagnostic completely like unprepared?
So I go back and forth on this. I would say yes. Like, go take the diagnostic early in your prep. It might not be day one where I know nothing about the MCAT. I'm gonna jump and look at the diagnostic.
Mm-hmm.
Some things you can do before the diagnostic to help you out, at least prime you to what to expect to see on the next day, is go and download the MCAT AMC content PDF from their website that just shows you what are all of the sections, what are the content that is being tested on each of the sections with percentages, and what are the skills being tested. Plus, they have few practice questions on, okay, this is what a skill 1 question. This is what a pure content question looks like. This is what a problem-solving question looks like. This is what a skill 3 or a skill 4, like research design or a figure question looks like. So spend a day with that document, then take your diagnostic test. Just see where you stand on things before you start prepping for that MCAT.
Yeah. Does the score matter that a student gets on a diagnostic?
So I'm in the camp that says definitely not. I understand that some students who start like that diagnostic test is above 500, then they're definitely trending in the right direction if they already have some of the critical thinking skills required for the MCAT. They already acquired them in undergrad. They will do better on the diagnostic. That doesn't mean that those who started with a 480 cannot acquire the same skills and get to where someone with a 505 started.
Yeah.
It just tells you where you are.
Yeah.
And how much effort you need to put into it.
Yeah. How many full-length exams should a student take on their way to their MCAT test day?
Whew. As many as you can. I think that's
1
take
billion.
as many as you can. I'm sorry?
1 billion.
1 billion, if you can. Like, I took, I think, 14 before my first MCAT.
Yeah.
But let's talk minimums and the numbers you need to take. There are 5 AMC practice tests. 4 of them are scored. 1 of them is the AMC sample test that AMC released before they figured out the scoring of the test, and then they haven't like retroactively scored it. So we have 5 AMC full-length exams that are definitely worth taking. So you want to take all 5 of them.
Okay.
So think of these as hard requirements. You want to take these full-length exams.
Okay.
And then you want to take other full-length exams too. And this is where you can use full-length exams that are available from different test prep companies. So obviously I'm biased, so I'm going to say take the Blueprint exams. And the first one is available for free, so you can try it, see it, look at the analytics that you get out of it, and see if that's like if the questions you've seen and what you learned from the full-length exams, the explanations, and like the analytics at the end to show you what to do after that full-length exams are helpful. Then like would like to have you as our student then. But try to take at least, I'm going to say 3 or 4 outside of the 5 AMCs. This will put you at 7 or 8 to 9 full-length exams. 7 to 9, I think, is perfect for most students.
Yeah. When it comes to actually planning out how often students should take a full-length exam, how to build that into their schedule, what do you recommend there? And what are some of the common mistakes that you see when students are taking full-length exams? Yeah,
I was afraid of something I said earlier is gonna come back and haunt me. But students hear that you need to take as many full-length as you can as an invitation to take like 5 full-length exams per week.
Yeah.
So, and I fell into this. I remember I took my first 6 full-length exams. I skipped cars. And I took 6 of them in 3 days. I took just like ChemPhys, BioBiochem, ChemPhys, BioBiochem over 3 days. My first MCAT didn't have psych, so So bad idea, didn't improve, didn't learn from the full-length exams between them. I had to take weeks to learn from every full-length exams, review every mistake. So don't overdo it. So big mistake is when you take multiple full-length exams.
Yeah.
So you want to space them. One of my colleagues used to tell me that if you want to lose weight, you don't measure your weight every day. You have to do some cardio in between. So you need to do some cardio in between. You need to do some untimed practice. You need to do some content review. You want to like fine tune the way you approach passages and questions in between practice exams.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to ask you, in terms of that content review, what about full-length review itself? How long do you think students should do that full-length review? I've heard it should take you twice as long to do a full-length review as it does to actually take the test.
Yeah, maybe. But like for some of us, if we're like at the beginning, it will take us a lot of time to review the full length exams. I just like review it properly, and we don't care about how much time that takes. Early on, it is going to take you a lot of time to review tests. It's going to take you probably as much as taking the exam. Now, in here, like this, something I caution against. You want to review every question, whether you got it right or wrong, but avoid getting too deep into content or topics that you've never reviewed before.
Yeah.
So imagine I just started studying for the MCAT. I took a practice exam. I saw an optics passage. I missed all of the questions, but I've never reviewed optics before.
Yeah.
Spending 2 hours today trying to review this passage might not be a great idea. Flag these questions, come back to them when you actually review optics. You can review them like on the surface level, see, was there any passage information that could have helped me answer the question even without me knowing the content? Was there any strategy I could have used to narrow down the answer choices? But spending 2 hours the day after you take your full-length exam, getting into content that you've never seen before or you've seen years ago, it's not a great idea. And that might be one thing that contributes to it takes twice as long to review the test, just students going too deep into the review early on.
Yeah. Okay. So take the tests, space them out, do content review, QBank stuff in between them. Don't cram them all together. What about the order of tests? I've seen some crazy, you know how, like, I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan, but there's some crazy kind of Star Wars theories out there about the perfect order to watch the Star Wars movies in, or the Avengers movies, right? All of the Marvel kind of Avengers movies. There are similar theories about how to take the double AMC full-length exams. Is take the unscored one first, and then number 5, and then number 3, and then number 2, and then number 4, and then number 1, right? What are your thoughts of that craziness?
I honestly think it doesn't matter as long as you take them, and as long as you take them like fairly late in your prep. Like if you're taking the MCAT again in March and you're starting today, don't use all of your AMC resources today, because these tests are designed to show you, 1, how AMC tests the MCAT, and 2, to help predict what your score will be on the MCAT. They lose their predictive value if you use them too early.
Yeah.
The exact order of the test, I honestly don't care. Like you can, if my tutoring student wants to take 1, 2, 3, 4, or 4, 3, 2, 1, or 1, 3, 2, 4, it does not really matter. Like I'm gonna tell them, as long as you don't spend your days thinking about it, take them in any order you want.
Yeah.
Like I do have a favorite one, like number 2. I love the biochem section on AMC number 2. It's my favorite one. But I'm not going to tell you take it the last one or take it the second or the third one. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as you take your AMCs probably in the last 5-6 weeks before your test. Like you can space them like exactly 1 week before the test, like one at a time.
Okay.
One test at a time. Something I've been experimenting with, and actually like it had some positive result. Obviously, it's like my sample size is not too great with like working with individual students one-on-one.
Is this a double-blind, placebo-controlled?
I wish. Is I've been recommending to take the sample tests broken into sections, like 1 section a day during the last week before your prep. because I think, at least personally, and for my students who took it and were happy with the outcome, is it does not give you a score. So it might not give you a lot of anxiety taking it the week before your test. So I have them take it like Chem Phys on day one or whatever section, then then Cars, Biochem, and Psych Soc, like 5 days, 4 days, 3 days, and 2 days before their tests, one section a day. This way, they're practicing with AMC material. They're not taking a full-length exam 7.5 hours, 2 days before their test.
Yeah.
And they're not getting a score, so there's less anxiety attached to taking these sections.
Yeah. There are score conversions available for that sample
yeah,
test.
I usually tell them stay away from them.
Okay, good. Because they're not based on any sort of real data. It's just
Well, we have I understand 4 years ago when we only had that test, and we wanted to say, okay, would this score help you predict if you're ready or not? It was our only piece of information or AMC material we had outside of using test prep company full-length exams. Now you have 4.
Yeah.
So you don't really need to dig deep into this AMC sample test.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of a follow-up question. All of these full-length exams, taking them, spacing them out, everything else. You talked about losing the predictive value when taking the exams too early.
Yes.
What about someone who needs to retake the MCAT? And along with that, let's assume they listened to us, they took a bunch of full-length exams. When they're retaking the MCAT, they need more full lengths to do.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So it is unfortunate, and it causes an issue because it's either that you will have to repeat the AMC full-length exams, and we'll talk about the issues with that, or you'll go into your test that you have not reviewed a lot of AMC material going into your test, which I think is a bigger issue.
Yeah.
So my general advice is that if you've seen them once and it's been multiple months before you took the test, you're going to have to repeat them. I had this a couple of summers ago. One of my students was repeating that student scored 504 on their real test. They scored 504 on the MCAT, and they were repeating the test. Now, they were taking the test prep company practice exams, and they were scoring in the 507, 508, like early in their prep, and they were doing well. And then I told them, you need to repeat your AMCs. I think it was like a good calendar year between times he took the MCAT.
Okay.
And he repeated them, and he was scoring like above 17 on all 4 of them, or all 3 on them. No, 4 of them back then. And then you have the inner feeling, did I really get 517, or was I remembering the answer to the questions? And that's always going to be an unknown. We cannot tell that for sure. But he ended up scoring 518 on his actual test. So it was kind of accurate. It was a year apart, so I think that's part of it. I would usually ask my students to repeat them, or at least repeat a few of them going into their test. If not, even if you're not getting a super predictive value out of them, you're still getting AMC practice a week or 2 before your test.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just something to think about. I think a lot of people who need to retake get some false sense of security because they have retaken those double AMC full-length exams and are getting great scores, but not realizing that they're just remembering the answers from previous. So 6 months, a year, probably doing much better in terms of getting a little bit better.
If it's a couple of months, then we have an issue. You can repeat one of them, but predictive value is just low.
So Blueprint, you said you're a little bit biased with Blueprint exams. I believe Reddit did a survey a while ago, and the students of Reddit spoke and said Blueprint exams were the best exams out there besides the double AMC. So you're not alone in your thinking that the Blueprint exams are best. And Blueprint offers, I think, 4, 6, or 10 exams that you can get to practice. And again, you get that first one for free along with the half-length diagnostic by just signing up for a free account, which is awesome. What else do we need to talk about with full-length exams, if anything?
Yeah, so reviewing the full length exam, you're mostly looking at your mistakes and what you can learn from each mistake, but you want to always look at the data you have available to you and how it should inform your prep going forward. And that's also part of the reason why you need to space your full length exam. So you want to look at what percentage of questions am I missing per topic? And this is one of the things I love about the blueprint exams is that you can look at how you're doing per skill. So it's not only per topic, it's per what type of questions am I getting right or wrong. And we have them like broken down in a couple of different ways, like per AMC skill, which is how AMC breaks down um, that full length review is how are you doing with content questions, problem solving questions, research style questions, and figure analysis questions or data questions. And then we're also breaking them down by passage questions versus pseudo-discrete, the ones where you don't really need the passage, and just discrete questions. So all of this data is very valuable. And you can find small things that some of my students always miss discrete questions. Just like ask yourself why? Why am I missing discrete questions? And sometimes we make a small change. Either take them all at the beginning and they started acing them, or don't take them at the beginning and then they start doing better at them. You want to look and evaluate the information you get from the full length exam and use it to change the way you prep and change the way you take the test in order to improve your score.
Yeah. That review is so important, and students just right over their head. They're like, "I'm just going to do more and do more and do more and do more," and they're like, "You have to learn from what you're doing, or else this is useless." So, very important thing to
know. It's usually a struggle early on with students is that either that they're eager to take so many full length exams just because they want to see improvement. Or they resist taking full length exams because they're kind of afraid of them.
Yeah.
So I tell my students, your first 3 full length exams are your second, third, and fourth diagnostic tests. They're only diagnostic tests. Their predictive value is low, and this is where, going back to Reddit, a lot of students talk about, oh, does this? I see it bothers me on a personal level. I don't know why, of the discussion of, are our exams or somebody else's company's exam, are they like, do they give you a lower score? Do they give you a higher score? Are they inflated? Are they deflated? And there's a whole discussion about it on Reddit. That's usually the first question my students ask me, if our tests are inflated or deflated. And my answer is, I don't care and you shouldn't care. Because you take our exams before you take the AMCs. So by the time you get to the AMCs, you took ours. So just because of that, you are going to score lower on exams you start with and higher on exams you end with. That's just how things work.
Hopefully.
You progress over time.
Yeah.
So treat your first full-length exams, whether it's Blueprint or anybody else's exam, treat them as diagnostic tests. You have 4 AMC tests to predict your scores. Use your test to identify weak areas and address them.
Yeah. I love it. All right, Ali, MCAT 101 series, rocking and rolling. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.